Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. Today, I had originally planned to use my avatar because I thought my nose looked completely awful, but my son came home and said, "Mom, it's not that bad." So if anyone is freaked out by it, let me know and I will turn off my camera. And if people are thinking it's not that bad, then I will leave it be. Welcome, Mage. Thank you for coming today.
Yeah, been looking forward to this.
When I did the stream, my hangout stream, Mage had said that he had a bunch of footage from the No Kings demonstration in his area. And I was really impressed with what he told me he had because tell them where you live, Mage, if you don't mind. If you do mind, then just
No,
be
I don't mind.
general about it.
I live in Venice, Florida, and it's a It's a red district, little redhead city, and there were hundreds of people at this protest in my area.
Yeah, that's what I found so impressive is you live in one of the two deepest red states in the country. Texas and Florida are the two most dangerous states in this country. And yet there were a lot of people that turned out for this.
Yeah, in fact, I miscalculated. According to Sarasota County Democratic Party's website, the protest in Venice has exceeded 1,200 people.
Wow. Wow. Well, anyway, when I did the Friends Hangout, I had a lot of people there. I think I had like 8 guests, and we really didn't have time to do Mage's footage from it. So I said, let's have you back another day when we can dedicate the whole show to it and we can see your footage.
Yep, I added more to it too. I actually had cut it short for for that one show since I knew you were going to have a lot of people on, but I added a little bit more to it this now. You will see a lot of jump cuts because I'm it's either different segments of the footage where I'm taking breaks, or cut out the parts where I'm pointing at the camera at my feet or something. A few little things like that. I think there was like one person I cut out that didn't want to be on camera, so I'm trying to be respectful in that regard. So you'll see jump cuts throughout it, but
Okay.
so to get it,
Before we get started, Limited Light has given us a super chat. Thank you
No.
very much. Says, can't believe we're waiting for 717 for the next nothing on 74. And I'm really glad that you asked that question, Limited Light, because someone made a suggestion to me today, and I thought it was a really good one. And that was, they suggested that I do something live at the ARC protest. Now, the ARC protest is on Sunday, not Saturday. And I'm driving up on Saturday, and it's a 5-hour drive, but I think I can make it in time that I can do something live while I'm there. I'm not sure what I'll do. It's going to depend on what I find. So watch for a pop-up sometime on Saturday. It might be a little bit later because it's going to take me a while to drive up there. But I'll do something on 7/4 that's going to be live with the people that are at ARC protest.
And if you can't get anything live, at least get a lot of footage so you can play it later.
Yeah. Okay, take it away, Mage.
Anyway, just to get a little start. First of all, nationwide, we had about 4 to 6 million who attended protests throughout the country, which was about 1.2 to 1.8% of the population. And protests are actually up from in 2017, from 5,043 in 2017, and currently in 2025 we've had 15,396 protests. And just a little side note, in the Sarasota, the city above me, it's a bigger city, there were around 7,000 people who attended that particular protest. So you'll need to bring up the video for me to play it.
Okay.
and this is where I pretty much just got there. Oh, and those little blue signs that you see the people holding. Yeah, I got one of those. They're
Now, what building are you standing in front of?
see, this is the Venice Little Theater right here. What you see right now.
The Venice Little Theater, you said?
Yeah, it's a little theater. They do stage plays.
A community theater type place?
Kind of, yeah. They've done like a little shop of horrors there and stuff like
I
that.
thought I saw something that said Christian Science. So
Yeah, that's across the street from it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's like a book. I think that's like a book short store shop or something.
There you go. Good. Mine's still sitting in my cardboard's still sitting in the living room.
I must have tried to get the signs people were holding.
Mm-hmm. No hate.
It's a very important message you got on there.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for your service.
Sleep well tonight. We are on patrol. Without us, you'd have nothing.
Thank you.
Yeah, without us, you'd have nothing.
Yes.
Thank you.
He was the in the service.
Yeah, I saw his cap, Air Force.
Yeah, I came across a few people like that. In fact, the one of the anti-protesters was actually almost in the service. He was going on about it, but we might get into that later.
That's not surprising. In fact, can you pause for just a moment?
So you want to say something?
The day that I had my surgery on my nose, when I was waiting in the lobby, there were two people across from me talking, and one of them clearly had been in the service, and he was talking to someone else about the Trump parade, not the No Kings protest, but the Trump parade, and he was saying how wonderful the parade was and how wonderful. And I'm like, oh, brother, but
that parade was janky.
Yeah, I bit my tongue and kept my mouth shut.
Yeah.
Now, was there a parade also, or is this just normal traffic?
It looks pretty normal for the traffic in this area for this time of day. It's around about 10 in the morning.
Okay, but there wasn't anything special on the street. It was just the protesters along the edge of the road.
Yeah, there's nothing. The streets were clear.
Okay. Old School Dave says these protesters are docile as heck.
Oh yes, it was very peaceful. The only thing I saw that was not really that peaceful were these people driving around in their big ass pickup trucks. I'm pretty sure were compensating for something and blowing their exhaust fumes onto the protesters as they drove by.
Okay.
I didn't get any footages of that. I only caught it when I was on my break or as I was driving away, leaving.
I like that sign. Make America sane again.
Yeah.
Jane, I'm over here. Jane?
No kings, no felons, no way, no this. That's a good one. That's actually funny. Some of the anti-protesters were complaining about how so many people had the flags upside down. I find that so ironic considering how during the last administration, and that was their whole symbol. Sorry for the glare.
I noticed that most of the people are older, around my age and older.
Yes, my area is very elderly.
Okay.
In fact,
That's common in Florida.
Yeah, I kind of joked I live in the land of the walking almost dead.
I had originally wanted to retire to Florida because I just love the water, and there's so much water there.
Yeah,
But
it's this is actually on an island, just probably about a 10-minute walk to the Gulf of Mexico right here.
wow, that's cool. Any condos in the area?
Yes, there's lots of condos in the area.
That's where I want to live, in a condo.
Yeah, I'm not that impressed with condos. I've been in a few of them, helping my uncle with auctions, but
Well, the reason is I don't want to have to keep up any grounds.
mhm.
I want a small but nice space.
Yeah, that would definitely cover it.
Hmm.
Good.
I did listening to everything, recording it. Did you know that? I said, no.
Get troops off our streets.
All the little doggies are
Is this kind of like the main street through town?
We're gonna spread out. And before DP, we're gonna spread it to downtown.
What we'll do.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are flowing.
I guess he's a good
Freedom, not fascism.
I was sitting there.
Sharon, what's supposed to be there?
What did she yell?
Impeach the felon.
Ah, okay. Yep.
Rapist.
Impeaching him isn't going to do any good right now. Because he's been impeached 3 times, but the Senate has never voted him out of office, and right now we do not have a majority in the Senate.
Well, I think it would have been good to have as a principled thing to do. The fact that we have over 120 Democrats voting down an impeachment right now is disturbing to me. And I mentioned, if you didn't hear me, I called him a fraudulent felon rapist, which this person holding the sign was quite pleased about.
Yep.
On there too, right? Add it on there.
We got this person with the balloon. Is that the orange balloon?
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah.
Okay. When you mentioned the balloon, I was looking and I didn't see a balloon. I thought that was a pumpkin.
I love that. That is
There's the bridge going over off of the island. And
Okay.
this is it's almost halfway filled on that side.
Now, that man in the red shirt looked like he had a bunch of signs. Were they passing out signs for people to hold up, or did most people...
there were some people with extra signs.
Okay.
That's how I got one of mine.
Okay.
You know what? I don't feel so alone anymore.
Yeah, being in a red state, being surrounded by Trump signs in my block was feeling pretty isolated.
Yeah. Speaking of which, during the election, I put a Harris Waltz sign in my front yard, and my husband was a little bit wary of doing that. We put it very close to the house so that people wouldn't vandalize it. Or if they did vandalize it, they'd have to get close enough to the house that we could see them. And I had 2 neighbors come and thank me for putting that up, that they wanted to put one up too, but they were afraid.
Yeah, I don't put any signs up in my area.
Yeah, that chant doesn't work very well.
Well, you don't see people. Wait till she needs
Sorry.
King can be in there, so it's gonna be a second.
Okay, you keep workshopping that.
I'm working.
Oh, that's a great shirt for this.
Rebel scum.
Yeah, that is a great shirt.
Oh yeah, I know, right? Thanks.
Okay, can you pause it a minute, Mage?
Sure.
Actually, I'm going to remove it from the stage just for a
Yeah,
moment because
sure.
this comment from Purple is worth addressing. Did you hear about the elderly protesters being zip tied and arrested for protesting the cuts to Medicare? And the answer is no. I did not hear
No,
about
I haven't
that.
heard about that either.
Purple, either put something more or put up a link, and let's talk about that a little bit because I did not hear about that at all. I'm glad they did it. The defunding Planned Parenthood is a serious problem. There's a lot of people that get their health care from Planned Parenthood. And I know my daughter as a pediatrician has been really afraid about the cuts to Medicaid that, some of her patients aren't going to be able to afford medical care anymore.
Oh, they've been using zip ties instead of handcuffs for a while. It's usually a lot easier to carry if you're dealing with like a crowd.
Yeah. The police use zip ties a lot now. But let's see if Purple gets us a link that we can use for that.
Oh, while we're waiting, might as well get back to the video.
Okay, go ahead.
You need to bring it back up.
Oh,
I
I'm
like
sorry.
control.
I'm sorry. I forgot that you can't do that.
I can pause and I can pause it and play it, but we the people since 1776.
No king! This group just keeps going.
Yeah, that's the only thing I didn't walk over across the street because this is a main street right here, and there's a whole thing about who knows if I could get run over.
Mm.
I didn't want to chance it.
Yeah, believe me, and my wife.
She apparently crocheted or knitted that.
Oh, neat. Okay. The link that Purple provided, the first time I did it, it said page not found, but the second time I did it, it worked.
Yeah.
And I also took the link that Limited Light put up, but right now it's telling me site can't be reached. That could be my internet. My internet is kind of wonky. Every now and then it goes out and I'm not getting anything, and it sure looks like I have internet, but I don't necessarily.
I got it up.
Okay. Okay,
Want
I've
me-
got the article. Just a minute, and I'm going to put
Okay.
it on the. I'm going to put it up on the screen. Share screen. Window. Oh, tab. There we go. Sure.
Wednesday, huh?
What'd you say?
Says they did it Wednesday.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it says Capitol police officers were seen zip tying the hands of senior citizens in wheelchairs.
Oh, there's a picture. Shoot.
Yep, there it is.
Yeah, he looks like a real threat, don't
Yeah, definitely. They could just boot his chair. They don't need to zip tie him. Anyway, they were zip tying the hands of senior citizens in wheelchairs on Wednesday during protests against proposed Medicaid cuts. Video shows one officer tightening a zip tie over the wrists of one man in a wheelchair, featuring what appeared to be a communication aid screen. Next to the senior, a woman already zip tied. A second man in a wheelchair was also shown with his hands zip tied. Footage shared online showed those 3 detained people lined up outside the elevator with officers nearby. A spokesperson for the Capitol Police told Newsweek, "We always restrain people's hands when they are under arrest for everyone's safety. We don't deviate from that best practice because of someone's age, gender, disability, or other characteristics. The way to avoid the flex cuffs is to listen to our officers' multiple warnings not to break the law, and to lawfully demonstrate in the numerous areas of Capitol grounds where the First Amendment activity is permitted." Okay, so where were they doing this that it was not permitted? I wonder. Okay, the context. Republicans are working on a giant bill, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, to help deliver President Trump's domestic agenda. Changes to Medicaid were always expected in order to offset the costs of providing tax breaks for millions of Americans. Yeah, let's just kill off some people so that other people can have a tax break. I mean, why not? Yet the size and scope of those Medicaid cuts has not been shown. Medicaid cuts proposed by House Republicans would leave as many as 10.9 million Americans uninsured, the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office estimates. While Senate Republicans last week released legislation that proposed cutting Medicaid even more aggressively.
I'm guessing it was probably inside the building, in front of an elevator that they mentioned there. So.
Oh, yeah. You're probably not allowed to protest inside the building. Probably have to protest outside the building. That does make sense. What people are saying. Braxton Brewington, spokesperson for the Debt Collective, told Newsweek, whether people have disabilities or not, whether they are seniors or not, everyone deserves to get health care without being bankrupted and falling into crushing medical debt. Proposed Republican cuts to public goods just to give the top 1% a tax break will not go forward without Congress knowing extreme pain and duress it will cause the working class. This week's protest showed congressional Republicans and anyone considering voting for this disaster bill that we will not be silent about the violent attacks on our democracy, economy, and dignity.
Yeah, I've been recently organizing my own policies, and I came up with one of the things is comprehensive universal health care, covering medical, dental, vision, and mental health care.
Mm-hmm. Fred Harvey says, such brave law officers.
Yes.
Purple said they were inside the Capitol building. It's unclear if the police ever gave them the option of leaving before they started arresting people.
That's definitely. If they had said move along, and they didn't, I can see where they might be questionable there.
Mm-hmm.
Also, where are these designated areas too? Because I've heard of some places that set up designated places to protest, but it's like behind the building by the dumpsters.
Did you see Genetically Modified Skeptics video about his going to the Capitol to speak against, I can't remember what bill it was, but his experience in trying to speak against a particular bill?
Nope.
Oh, it's really good, and it shows just how difficult the government is making it for people, just everyday people, to come and speak their minds at the Capitol. Yeah, Limited Light says Texas Capitol. Yes, that's correct. He lives in Texas. But the thing is he got together about 20 people to all speak against this bill, and they all came, and they were told, okay, wait in this room until your bill is called. And they waited and they waited and they waited and they waited. And around noon, a group came and showed up that was, they do this all the time. It's a professional group that organize protests and organize people to speak for or against various bills. And they came and told Genetically Modified Skeptic what the procedure is. And basically the procedure is, we wait. They will try to cause you to wait out. You may be waiting here for 20 hours before they finally get to you. And this group brought Genetically Modified Skeptic and his group pizza and water for lunch while they were in the room. They came back and brought them dinner. They did not call their bill until about 6:30 the following morning. So they were waiting like 22 hours before they finally got called. And right when it was time for their bill to be called, 3 people showed up that were speaking in favor of the bill. And that was one of the things that the group explained to them, was that anyone who comes because they want to speak, you come and you have this procedure where you sign up and you wait. But if you are invited to speak, then you're told exactly what time to come. And by the time they finally got to his bill, there were only 4 people left in the group because most of the people couldn't stay that long.
That's not right.
No, it's not. There was no question that the deck was really stacked against them. It was awful.
Well, all right, might as well get back to this. By the way, this is actually the first protest I've ever been to.
Okay. All right. There we go.
You want to sit for a minute?
One
I think it's really cool how much support you're getting from the people driving by.
Yeah, there were a lot of people honking their horns. In fact, as I was leaving, I drove through this area and honked my horn.
Mm.
Hey, ho, Trump has gotta go.
Lock him up.
Hey, ho.
There you go. This is one of the signs that they're being handed out. Let's see when it goes.
Oh, this is interesting. I
Children-
missed this comment before. Surus did a video about going to Trump's birthday parade, and they would not let him in because he had a camera on a tripod. I'm gonna have to go back. I'm gonna have to go watch that video.
Yeah, this is one of the signs. This is what I got here. The sign. One of these signs.
Kill the Republicans' bill that destroys Medicare, Medicaid, and veterans' health care. Yeah.
Yeah.
They saw the whole thing happen. It was a big crowd. Like anxious that they were going to kill each other all over. She got mad because we had to act her way.
Yeah, there were a few counter protesters here. I have another clip of of them specifically I cut out. But
Mhm. I figured we'd get to that in just a bit.
oh, there's still plenty of footage on this one.
Got the check around.
Hello, officer.
Hey, home. Know the definition of fascism.
How long is this bridge?
I'm not really sure, but we're almost at the halfway point.
How long does it take you to walk
I think I
across
finally
it?
came to the end of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is about the end of where the protest was. So how long you saw me walk? So I figure about double that.
So you turned around and walked back at that
Yeah,
point?
I turned around and walked back at this point.
Okay.
I filmed that part. This is all filmed, so.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, this is just basically me walking through the protest.
Mm-hmm. I can't read that.
Make America proud again.
It's a
Oh.
really great one right there.
Thank you. That sure
This is not racism. Is not patriotism.
Mm-hmm. Purple says, I live in a city of 30,000. We have more than 2,500 protests here in spite of it raining that day. Yeah, the only reason I did not go to the protest myself was because we had severe thunderstorms that day. Supreme Court just made Trump even more powerful. Federal courts can no longer
yeah.
ban his illegal executive orders. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard about that. Boy.
Hey, glad you're protesting.
How much footage do you have of the counter protest?
I think it's about 6 minutes.
Okay. Let's go ahead and switch to that.
Okay.
This is probably all just more of the same, right?
More or less.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So here's the counter protest.
I talked to a couple of people here.
Okay.
Here's one. This guy here's the counter protester right there.
Mhm.
This one too.
Sleep suffering from TDS.
Yeah.
Oh,
Trump
sheep.
arrangements. Sheep. Yeah.
Well,
Trump
yeah, you
arrangement
guys are
syndrome.
sheep.
It's okay. I have nothing to hide. I served in Desert Storm. You got blood on your hands from going over there. Oh, so I have no problem, man. I stood up for this country, and I have more respect for you. I stood up more respect.
Do you don't want your face on camera?
Go ahead, man.
Oh, okay.
I'm not afraid of anyone. I served in Desert Storm. I have Iraqi blood on my hands. So nothing fears me, man. I have more respect for the Iraqis that fought for their country and these people.
Oh,
Just
I'm
so
sorry
you
to hear that.
I mean that. You could disagree, but I mean,
Yeah, I was trying to be very polite, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, they fought for something. What have these people fought for?
You really have to
democracy?
be.
Democracy?
We live in a constitutional republic, my friend. This is a constitution.
That argument, yeah, we do we use democratic voting systems.
Well, we do live in a democratic republic. That's true.
Yeah.
But Trump is trying to get rid of that.
Republic. It's
Not
a
much more.
democracy.
Not much longer.
Huh?
Not much longer.
Constitutional republic.
Not much longer.
Really? How's that?
It's going to be it's an oligopoly
From where? From who?
from the top, from Trump, from everybody
From
we
Trump.
put in office.
You really?
Now, interesting enough, I did mention that I was including the Democrats in this. That seemed to get his attention.
think so.
And I'm including the Democrats in that too.
Oh, okay. So you're not just saying, okay, all right. So you're not, okay.
That's actually a good tactic to use to not just be one-sided on some of it. If you can mention gripes you have about the Democrats when you're talking to these sort of people like this, it helps them to listen to you.
I think watching Jordan Klepper really helps too. He's really good at making the MAGAs look like fools, and they don't even know it. They don't realize what he's done.
Well, listen.
The rich, basically.
Well, the rich create a lot of jobs too.
They also create a lot of poverty too.
Trump also wants to give tax breaks to people who are working overtime, no tax on tips. He wants to push tax on Social Security.
Yeah, no tax on tips actually would raise money for the poor. It'd actually be more money for the poor out of the pocket.
No tax on tips should be for the working people. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying, for the people who are working hard?
Yeah, the people who are working on hard are going to have to pay more.
With me? Thank you, man. You disagree with me?
Single American outside of
That was another jump cut from. This is actually another entirely different clip here.
Okay, but this is. Wait a minute. She's a counter protester?
No, she's a she's in a protester, and she's arguing with
the protesters again.
Yeah, this is the protester, and she's arguing with the counter protesters.
Okay.
for the first time in fucking history, but they did have a room full of billionaires.
That's the counter protester. They're holding the flag with all the lettering on it.
Okay.
What do you mean, no? They shut down.
In our country.
Okay, show me the videos where there was Americans outside of the inauguration.
And there's another one, the counter protesters doing the thumbs up thing, I think.
Show me.
I mean, I don't know who they are, so I think they're like.
Show me. Or did they shut it down due to weather and then they don't have
You got your flag upside down.
this country?
Yeah, he's one complaining about how they have the flag upside down, which I find incredibly ironic. And I didn't read what was on the guy's flag, by the way, so I don't know what it said.
We're gonna have so many.
This country is in distress and the reason
That's why we said don't.
I supported it. It was a peaceful rally.
It's funny how they're all
Peaceful rally. You know? But thank God Trump's in there now.
Were the counter protesters all in one area?
More or less, this is pretty much the biggest group right here I encountered.
Now, were they across the street from the protesters, or were they kind of mixed in with
them? They were
or?
kind of mixed in. You know,
yeah.
Not too many immigrants coming over. Not too many. Finally getting the boys and girls sports, right? That's terrible.
This country's in distress. That's terrible. We're falling for a dictator. That's terrible. You have the flag on your chest, but you're going to support the by executive order.
What do you have against it?
What don't I have against him? He's a horrible.
But they
it's
all,
not just him. It's a whole administration.
but they all can be reversed. All those executive orders are reversed. You know, it's
they're being held legislative where they should be
I feel bad for anyone wanting to walk down the street.
It was pretty packed.
Yeah.
There was apparently a farmers market or fairs thing going on, and a little bit further down too. I didn't go to it though.
He's broken.
Oh my God, he's a convicted felon.
34 times.
Arrest a U.S. citizen on U.S. soil.
So they're arguing that Trump is not actually a felon. That he's all been framed for everything that he's ever been convicted of. Is basically what they're arguing here.
Before you start up again, Purple says after the January 6th incident, Republicans were flying American flags upside down.
Yeah.
There was a to-do because one of the Supreme Court justices had an upside-down flag over his house.
Yeah.
And Storytime Jesus says, I'm disappointed in American voters. They like Democratic policy, but eat MAGA lies daily. Yeah, he's absolutely right.
What is it? I don't know the facts about that.
They don't.
That's what happens when you get the Justice Department to come out. What they do is they say he's guilty of a crime, then they go look for him.
Okay, and they do it to every everybody.
So you want to cut? I want front page
I'm
coverage.
not on the other side, and that's
I do have the information. I know it's 1.3%. The congressional budget office.
They already released it.
I have to get on a website search. Let me do your homework for you. I'm telling you, it's 1.3%.
Yeah, this lady here is probably one of the youngest people at this protest.
Mm-hmm.
It's 1.3%. If you want to know where I got that, look it up. So you're saying I'm wrong.
He said,
You know something's coming.
He
You
said,
staged.
he said, any protesters, not rioters, not looters, any protesters. He said, tell me you don't know, Jack. Tell me that you wear that flag on your chest and tell me that's funny.
Let's go. Okay. What happens is somebody throws bread.
I like the taco is not a king.
I'm actually not a big fan of the whole taco thing because it's chastising him for doing what he shouldn't be doing in the first place, and that could
Yeah,
push him to
it's,
do the
it's
bad
still
thing.
a clever sign. It's
Yeah.
still a clever sign.
Every excuse that you make for him, you say he's, oh, that's not what he meant.
In California, they drink whiskey and 2 Molotov cocktails, and that's when they got in trouble. They arrested them.
He pardoned them. He pardoned people from January 6th that immediately killed people because they're criminals.
How many people would Biden let in that killed people?
That's not every statement is a deflection into something else. Like you can't even have a debate.
That's a good one.
I never realized that Burger King ever tried to sell tacos. In fact, I was thinking the sign should have ended. Burgers are
I
king.
think he wants to be a dictator, and he's actively doing it, and you're letting him. And when 5 years from now, when we're on lockdown with fucking drones in the air, you're gonna think back to this conversation.
Like they're COVID Democrats, right? Being in lockdown.
No, I'm talking about a military authoritative state. I think all you old motherfuckers are letting him install a military old dictatorial state.
How? What is he doing?
I can't engage with you anymore.
What are you doing in Florida?
He
We'll be cutting away from this. I did ask her the lady if she wanted to say something to the camera, and she said no. So I cut that part out.
released the Marines on U.S. soil. That is illegal.
That was Harbaugh in California.
That is illegal.
Well,
Can you
she's
just
wrong
admit
there.
that
That's actually not
You
illegal.
can't even admit. Pam Body's in the process of getting
You're a lawyer?
debarred.
You're a lawyer?
Don't even.
I'll say something to the camera.
Oh, sure.
We're all Americans, and we can have a peaceful discussion like that. That's what America's all about.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yep.
And that's it for the really. That's about all there is for
Okay.
that.
I think that's enough with the video. I think we've seen enough of what's been going on. I think it's time for us to just kind of talk about it a little bit. But
All right.
she was saying that it was illegal to send the Marines there, but JFK sent a lot more than that, or was it Johnson? Let's see, what year was this? Actually, I think it was Johnson. But when the University of Mississippi integrated, they sent 30,000 troops to escort. I can't remember his name. The man that integrated the University or Mississippi University or University of Mississippi. I forget which. Ole Miss. But there were 30,000 troops there, and there was a reason why there were that many troops there. The day before or 2 days before, some protesters shot a general that was there, and they realized that the only way that they were going to have any kind of peaceful movement or peaceful integration was to have such a massive show of force that the protesters wouldn't even think about trying anything violent. And that's exactly what happened. It was a peaceful integration. So what Trump did in LA was not illegal. I don't agree with it. I don't think he did it right, but it was not illegal.
Well, one of the first signs I saw was a Republicans for Democracy. He had, as I was driving up to the protest.
Mm-hmm.
So there were a number of Republicans in that protest who were actually protesting against Trump.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm really happy to see that, that Republicans have figured out that Trump was not the person that they thought he was going to be. He's not doing the things they thought he was going to do. That was one of the things that I found absolutely flabbergasting before the election was the number of Latinos were asked about, well, Trump says he's trying to deport massive numbers of Latino people. Some of these are going to be your relatives and your friends. And they were all saying, oh, yeah, but that's just bluster. He's not really going to do that. They didn't believe him.
Or he's just going to get the ones that are here unlawfully, not us.
Right.
No, look at the numbers that they're talking about. They would have to start deporting people who are legally here for to meet those numbers they're saying.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Purple says the Marines are having an extreme morale problem with the troops in LA because they never thought they would have to deal with U.S. citizens. Yeah.
I imagine so. Well, actually, I'm kind of glad to hear that.
Yeah, yeah. And I imagine some of them are thinking about Kent State. I mean, that was an absolute disaster. One thing that I think is going to really backfire for the Trump administration is if they continue to deport farm workers. If they keep chasing the farm workers away and taking them away, the price of our produce is going to skyrocket when they have to hire people who are here in the country legally and who are going to want minimum wage, to do that work.
You can't find that number of people to do it either.
Mm-hmm.
We ran into that problem with Trump's first administration. They tried hiring people at regular prices, wages, and they couldn't find the people.
Okay, this says Limited Light says Donna Joanne is the kink they pound to, and I don't know what that means. Do you know who Donna Joanne is?
Nope.
I don't know who Donna Joanne is. I'm looking it up. Looks like she's a person on Instagram. Is that who you mean, Limited Light? Maggie Men. Okay, the lack of exports for the farms may balance out the lack of farm workers, stabilizing prices. I don't know. Donna Joanne. Oh, okay. Donna Joanne Trump. Okay, got you. Okay, I didn't understand. Okay, I'm not sure about stabilizing prices. Yeah, there's going to be less exports, which means, farmers may be growing fewer crops. That could drive farms out of business. Not having the income that they used to have.
Well, not even being able to get the crops harvested is a big problem with us.
Right. Because this year's crops are already planted. They're not going to plant less. It's already planted.
Yeah.
Storytime says soybeans might be really cheap. Yeah, because we won't be able to export them anymore.
But like I said, we ran into this problem with with his last administration when Trump was in the first time around, and then they couldn't find people to fill the jobs.
Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Dwayne Guy says social media kills brain cells. Yeah, sometimes. Definitely. Speaking of which, I have felt so much better since I abandoned X or Twitter.
I call it Twitter X.
Yeah, I call it both. Yeah, since I left that, I've really had a lot more peace in my life.
I've started doing meditation.
Okay. Farms are already going out of business because Trump canceled reimbursements for farmers after they had already planted.
Yeah, that's another big problem people are running into. In fact, there's a lot of farmers who are Trump supporters who are complaining about that, like getting blindsided because he spent the money expecting to get that money reimbursed, and then it's all got canceled.
Mm-hmm.
So that could put a lot of people out of business.
$12 billion bailout for farms during Trump 45. Wow.
Yeah, they ended up having to bail out the farms. And
Uh-huh.
you gotta figure this time around it's probably gonna be a lot worse.
Purple says, I will not call it X until Elon stops misgendering his own daughter. Oh, that's a great idea. That is an absolute great idea. I love that idea. Okay, it's Twitter.
We keep forgetting what her name is.
I haven't really thought. I mean, I was well aware that he had a transgender daughter, but yeah, I don't know what her name is either.
Yeah. If anybody happens to remember what her name is, put it in the chat so I can. It keeps slipping my mind.
Storytime Jesus says, I would love to track those same farmers vote for next time. It seems that they do not learn from reality, just Fox News entertainment. Limited Light asks, is it okay for me to misgender Donna Joanne Trump? Absolutely. You may misgender Donna Joanne Trump all you want.
Yeah, that's right. Vivian, that's her name.
Ah, okay. Vivian or Vivian. Okay.
Yeah.
My own son has now, is really glad that he chose the name Robin, which can be for either gender. And because he's not on hormones, he can kind of pass either way. And so if he's in a group where they're saying, if they're going to make it illegal to be transgender, he can say, okay, I'm female. And if it's legal to be transgender, he says, okay, I'm male. One of the things is he's thinking about going to Germany, and his passport is expired, and his last passport was under his dead name. And it was while he was still a minor. He got that passport while he was still a minor. So he's not sure if he can get a passport as a male. He probably is going to have to get a passport saying he's female.
That's a shame.
Yep.
Yeah, that whole way Elon treats Vivian is just so absolutely scummy.
Oh, what Trump said to the West Point graduates. And I'm sorry, not the West Point graduates. He spoke at a graduation, and he was telling the engineering students they should all get jobs in manufacturing. And it was like, does this man know anything? Yeah, that's the whole reason these people just went to the university and got their degrees, was so they could work in the field that they were trained in, not so they could go get jobs in manufacturing.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. The man is an idiot, and those of us who voted for him are idiots. Not that I did, but I mean, there are too many idiots in this country. Why are we so stupid?
I don't know.
There's one interview that I have been dying to do. I would absolutely kill for the opportunity to get Stephen Woodford on, and I want to ask him one question. And the question is, how do you think? And I would love to hear his process for analyzing things, because it's way beyond what I can do. And I think that is one of the biggest things that we are lacking right now is critical thinking skills. When I became an atheist, I met Matt Dillahunty just a couple weeks after I became an atheist, because I went to Dragon Con with Robin, and he was there. They did Atheist Experience live at Dragon Con in Atlanta. And I'm always early to everything. Robin and I were in the second row, and so when they opened up to questions, I was the second person in line for questions, and I asked, I've been an atheist for a couple of weeks now, and I'm so far behind. What do I read? And the thing that Matt Dillahunty recommended for me was a book on critical thinking. He recommended the book Innumeracy, and so that's the first thing I
Numeracy,
read
huh?
as an atheist. Yeah.
Interesting enough, it's how I realized Matt was how I realized I was an atheist in the first place.
Okay, Maya Atkinson says, didn't Woodford vote in favor of Brexit? And the answer is yes. And then he did a whole video on why he was wrong.
Yeah, I was actually watching one of those atheist experience video setups, and somebody called in talking about atheism. It was like oh, this is how we basically define atheists. Like, wait a second. Okay, if that's how you define an atheist, I guess that would make me an atheist. I kind of went through like some dictionary definitions and compared it to what Matt said. Like, oh yeah, like I guess I'm an atheist.
You didn't even know it, huh?
Yeah, I didn't. I was an atheist for years and didn't even know it.
Cool. So, were you raised in a Christian home?
Not exactly. My mother is a Catholic, and my dad was some weird mix of Buddhism and deism.
Okay. That sounds a bit like my dad.
But my dad was always is challenging me to question what I think, even if it's something he agreed with. He was like, "Why do you think that?" So. Are you sure about that? Kind of. He was always doing stuff like that with me. And before he died, I actually was talking to him. Like, he was asking me. He was telling me what he believed. Like, so what do you believe? Like, I just sit there for a moment and thought about it. I don't know. Like, good answer. That was one of my last conversations with him before he died. So.
Maya says, after the fact, pretty sure anyone could do that. No shade, just not impressed with Woodford. Okay, I get that. Yeah. He's not cup of tea for everyone, and he's done some dumb things. I'll grant you that. He made a really bad mistake with transgender people in sports, and he admitted that he was wrong. But the big thing that I am impressed with him about is he sees things that I miss. And that's why he obviously does not use the same thinking process that I do. And I'm always interested in learning different people's thinking processes. My daughter, my younger daughter, the way she thinks is absolutely baffling to me. And I wish I could think the way she does, because she is so much smarter than I am. But
I'll have to figure out how to articulate how I think at some point.
Well, for me, I learn a piece of information and I kind of store it, but I do not link one thing I learn with another area until someone suggests that there's a link there. And that's why it took me so long to leave Christianity is everything I knew about Christianity and everything I knew about other subjects were kind of in separate parts of my brain, and never the two should meet. And once the two met, suddenly I realized they were incompatible. And my daughter, when she learns something, she immediately will file that with everything else that she's learned. And here's a really good example that I saw when she was just a year old. Is, I was teaching her colors: red, blue, green, red, blue, green, red, blue, green. And when she finally got the concept, oh, these are the names of colors, she goes, red, blue, green, gray, orange, black, brown. And I was like, how do you do that? And it's just that all of a sudden, all the information about colors that had been stored in her brain, she could draw them all together. And she did the same thing when she learned how to write. I showed her how to write a letter A, and that's all I showed her, is how to make a letter A. I got up the next morning and she had written the entire alphabet on her little chalkboard. She was about 3 at the time.
Very smart.
And the only mistake she made was the Z was backwards.
No, pretty good.
Yeah. I wish I could think that way, but I can't. Purple says his transgender sports video would not have been such a big deal if he had not released it the week before Faithless Forum, which got in the way of him addressing his mistakes.
Yeah, I also think the big blowback with him is he didn't make a complete 180 right off the bat, and it took him time to really. It was more of a gradual turn with him. And I don't really like giving. I don't want to give him blowback for that. I mean, he eventually got there, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we are out of time. Mage, thank you so much for coming and sharing your videos. It was an absolute pleasure to have you on.
Yeah, I'm not sure where I'm gonna put this video. I mean, I don't usually put videos up on my main Mage Grey Wolf YouTube channel, so I don't know. Maybe I'll stick it there just so people can see it, but I don't really want to draw attention to that channel.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, thank you for coming on. Thank you for telling us about the protest in your area. It is a pleasure to know that there are so many people who are turning away and who are not supporting, the absolute power grab of the Republican Party and Trump in particular. Take an hour break, and I am going to be back in 1 hour with Art Against Ignorance, and we are going to be debuting my first music video. I wrote the lyrics and the music, and Art put the music to instrumentation. He wrote the instrumental part, and he and I sing the vocals in it.
Nice.
And yeah, I made it to be a music that can be used at a secular funeral. And this one, all of the video is personal to me, but you could just change the video to be personal to someone else as well.
I usually use Suno for the songs I write.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually I want to open that up to having actual artists perform them.
Okay,
that's
cool.
That's a kind of a long-term plan I have for my Mage's Media Musings channel.
Okay, that sounds great. All right. Yeah, and don't forget, Mage has the channel Media Musings. If you're not already subscribed, head over there and subscribe to that. And everyone else, I'll see you back in an hour. Live your life.